Can 2 months of DSA actually change anything? Because right now I'm pretty average, and I used to think competitive programming was something only cracked people could do. And honestly, for the longest time, I never even thought about taking it seriously. But placements are getting closer and I don't have a lot of time left. So I decided to test something. What happens when someone gives DSA genuine consistency for 60 days straight? No insane study schedule, no Olympiad background, just an average student trying to get better. For the next 60 days, I was going to create a fresh LeetCode account and document everything. The wins, the bad contests, the strategies, the rating jumps, everything. Now, one important thing before we start. I'm not a complete beginner. I've already solved this diverse DSA sheet, which is around 300 questions, so I know the basics of each data structure. I'm not learning these for the first time, but contests are still a completely different game for me. Under pressure, I'd panic. I'd fumble or overthink the mediums. Sometimes I'd know the concept but still not solve it. So I kept the rules very simple. 2 DSA questions every day, no matter what. Every night before sleeping, I'd revise the questions that I had done that day. And every 10 days later, I'd revise the 10 questions that I had done previously. Just to make sure I wasn't solving things once and forgetting them forever. That was the entire plan. The first week honestly felt amazing. I was revising the concept that I had done before. You know that feeling when you start something new and you're suddenly motivated for absolutely no reason? That was me. I was solving questions, tracking my ratings graph as I had done 3 out of 4 questions that week's contest with a rank of 8,000 and 6,000. My rating started moving pretty quickly in the beginning. The rating I think starts from 1500 for a fresh account, and after the first contest I was 1570. These early contests feel rewarding because even small improvements are reflected immediately. Then around the second week, reality hit. I remember I spent almost 1 hour solving the third question and I couldn't. It was hard for me but labeled as medium. And these are the kind of questions that I hate the most because I don't know if I'm overthinking or it is just an easy one. So I just solved 2 out of 4 questions that contest. The third and the fourth week, I wasn't necessarily studying more, just doing a daily problem and a question from previously held contest. I asked ChatGPT if I ever got stuck, that what was wrong in my approach. But I was recognizing patterns much faster. Earlier, I used to look at a hard question and think, what even is this? Now, I'd immediately connect it to two-pointer, greedy, DP, or something else, and contests started feeling calmer. I wasn't rushing to click the submit button and get a wrong answer on the easy ones. I started to take time. By end of the first month, I was at a rating of around 1750 and I solved 3 out of 4 questions every time. I was familiar with most things, and I noticed amongst the top 1000 people on the leaderboard, almost 70% of them are cheaters, whom I'm not even competing with. Like, you cannot solve 4 questions in 3 minutes, come on. Also, I realized to get a good rating, just solve the first 2 questions as fast as possible, then take your time on the third one. And even if I couldn't solve the fourth problem, I try finding a video explanation for it so that I can go through it the following week and understand the approach for it. By the start of the second month, my approach changed a little. I started to solve problems from the concept I felt I was the weakest at. That shift changed everything. My mindset also changed a little. Earlier, when I used to look at a problem, I started to think which data structure to implement. Whereas now I thought, how would I approach this problem just from first principles, not knowing any data structure? Because it is just to execute the idea. And that changed the game for me. Just by doing this, I felt I could do the fourth question now. At least 40 to 50%. I also became way more disciplined with revision during this phase. Revisiting old questions after 10 days was honestly one of the best decisions I took in this challenge because it exposed fake understanding immediately. There were questions I thought I had mastered until I tried them again without looking at the solution. That revision forced concepts into my memory long term. But suddenly next week again, I only solved 2 questions and my rating dropped. Turns out the third question was extremely hard from the discussions and I couldn't solve the first 2 quick enough. The following week, I solved problems on the topics that I felt required some practice, such as bit manipulation, combinatorics, most important by the way, segment trees, and disjoint set union. And by the last 10 days, I felt noticeably different from the person who started this challenge. Not smarter, just sharper. My contest timing improved, my implementation speed got faster, but most importantly, I trusted myself more. And that confidence matters so much in these contests. And then day 60 arrived. The last day again, I only solved 2 questions, but I was quick enough so the rating still increased. By the end of the 2 months, I was at a rating of 1879. I looked at my rating graph and honestly I felt proud. Not because the number itself was good, but because every single point on that graph represented days where I showed up even when I didn't feel like it. At that point, I thought the challenge was over. But surprisingly, the most important part came after the challenge ended. I took a complete 1 week break and went on a vacation. No questions, no contests, no revision, nothing. Somewhere deep down, I still believed like if I stopped grinding for a few days, I'd start forgetting things. Then after that week, I randomly decided to attempt a contest again. No preparation, nothing. And somehow, I solved 4 questions for the first time ever. An actual all kill. I remember clapping for myself because it wasn't an easy hard. It was an actual hard. And I had a rank of 617. First time under 1000. And I think that contest taught me the biggest lesson in this journey. LeetCode isn't that hard. You just need a good plan and some consistency. Daily questions mattered, practicing concepts and VCAT mattered, revision mattered. Also, progress in contests is weirdly invisible. Like in the gym, you can see changes physically. In exams, you can tell if your marks improved. But in problem solving, you don't see it daily. You only notice it weeks later when a problem that once looked impossible suddenly looks straightforward. By the end of this challenge, I've genuinely become someone who enjoys solving problems now. I love that dopamine hit when I think of an approach and it works first try. And honestly, that's probably more important long term more than any rating. Looking forward, my future goal would be around 2000 rating. I'm currently about 1900. I think any average person can get to around 1850 in just a matter of time, just by practicing. If you're also someone who's scared of starting DSA or thinks you're too average for giving contests, trust me, most people feel that way in the beginning. The hardest part is just staying long enough to let the improvements happen. Because it does happen, slowly, then suddenly all at once. And maybe this is just the beginning of the journey.